Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, along with my co-host, Conrad Thompson. And today we are blessed to be back on the airways with our new podcast. And our guest today couldn't be more highly thought of by me and a number of people in the industry. His dad and I were great friends. It's just been in the last couple of weeks that we celebrated the anniversary of his passing. But ladies and gentlemen, today, hello, man.
What's going on? How
Cody Rhodes.
Oh, hey, how apropos that I get to be on this podcast with you and Conrad. It's Rhodes and Flair all over again.
I love it.
Well, you know, it's funny. I know I showed you this, but our first guest on our first podcast was supposed to be your dad.
Yep.
On our first original, and not knowing that he had health issues, we missed each other by a day. And he had,
no.
Yeah, but I still have the texts. I saved them. I think I showed them to, thought I showed them to you. I for sure showed them to your mom, of me and him going back and forth on doing the first show. So it's always a great memory. I'll never erase him. I got him here forever.
Yeah, I got the same thing. I have the last few voicemails that he left me, and the last few text messages that he left me. It was very phone illiterate, so they don't necessarily make much sense, but I know what they mean, so I always keep them with me too.
Well, I told Conrad yesterday, and I think I have probably told him 100 times, but the speech, or whatever the word would be, that you gave at the funeral was one of the most touching things I've ever heard in my life. It was awesome. And the line about your mom and why would you have any pictures in the house of any other wrestlers when you're married to Elvis? That was pretty good.
I heard her say it herself when I asked her. I said, because it was something for a school project. Where's some pictures of me and Flair? Where's some pictures of me and Sting? I know there was a picture of me and Muda. I mean, I asked about these pictures, and she said it, and she walked away too. She ended on the clever line. She said, "When you're married to Elvis, you don't take pictures with the band." And
wow. I never thought of myself as being part of the band.
No.
I didn't mind taking the big elbow, but I wasn't in the band.
I don't think you were in the band either. I think it was her blanket statement.
Listen, how the Horsemen were in the band. What a great time, man. Go ahead, Conrad. I know you got 1,000 questions.
Well, I'm just curious, what was your first memory of meeting Ric? I know that, you probably met him as a little kid, and it's kind of weird or kind of cool to see how that relationship has blossomed in time. But what was your first memory of Ric? Was it on TV, or did you meet him in real life?
Great question. I want to say it was likely my perception and opinion was shaped from TV. Now, I don't think a lot of people know this. My dad did not smarten me up to professional wrestling. At no juncture, I think his strategy was he'll figure out some things about it as we go, which actually is a pretty horrible strategy when your father is often getting beat up, when he's laid bloody in the ring. So early on in my career, Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen were the big bad. I mean, I thought Ric Flair and I thought Tully Blanchard were the worst, just gangster-like people on the planet. So when he would bring me to these events, and I'd meet them for the first time, and I'd see these interactions between them, I'll never forget. I one time was like real nervous when Ric came around, and he told me afterwards, and this doesn't help with the whole not smartening me up thing either. He told me, he goes, "Oh, well, out there it's a different situation. Back here we respect one another," which still didn't fully explain to me how any of this was going on. So I was actually pretty terrified of Ric Flair as a child. And my sister, she's the stronger of the two. My sister really always had it out for Ric. Always. I think my sister's like 20.
Wait, you and Teal were both born in Charlotte, right?
Yes, sir. Presbyterian Hospital.
Yeah, see, that's both where Ashley and Reed were born as well.
Oh.
So I saw them a lot. Then Dusty and I lived basically across the street from each other, 2 separate subdivisions, and we saw them a lot. And when we got together for like the Lakers and the Celtics, and because he was a Celtic, I was a Laker.
Right.
He was a Bronco, I was the Giants, and which would get together for the big games and have a great time. But now I saw him grow, but then he moved to Atlanta, and I hadn't seen Cody in years. But Cody was an amateur wrestler, 2-time state champion, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I heard he was down there wrestling, they were the same weight class, right? But a different age group. So I brought
Cody and Reed. Yeah.
Cody and Reed. So I started coming down to Atlanta, but they never got together. But because they were always in a different, it was like, you're like 2 years older than Reed, I think, right? You're what, are you 29?
I'm 31 now. I just turned 31.
You're 31?
I'm
Jeez.
31 years old.
Holy cow.
I know, right?
Holy cow. When's your birthday?
As of June 30th. That was my birthday.
Well, congratulations. You know what they told me when I first started in the business after hanging around your dad and Murdoch for a while, that if I lived to be 30, I'd be overstaying my welcome.
Ooh.
So, yeah, let me tell you, running around with your dad and Murdoch in 1972 it wasn't good for my marriage. It certainly wasn't good for my health. Good Lord.
But you guys had a good time.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ! Did we have fun? I used to drive them to the towns I wasn't even booked. I didn't even come home. I didn't come home for a week at a time.
He told me a story about in Japan.
Yeah. I carried their bags for 3 weeks.
Yep.
They destroyed my room with a fire extinguisher, threw all my shit, all my clothes out of the second story window onto the street. They brutalized me. And I would sit on a train, and your dad would sing, because I was so homesick. Dear John, I hate to write you, good Lord. There was no cell phones back then, right? So I didn't know what else he was doing. And then the worst thing they did is we're coming back, and we got so drunk on Northwest, we landed in Honolulu. This is how drunk we were. They arrested Buddy Wolf, the FBI, when he got off the plane. Me and your dad and Murdoch went down to the beach, and whatever they did to me, I was supposed to pick up Leslie at 8 o'clock at night. They were on a 6 o'clock flight, right? I woke up at 9 o'clock laying on the beach, right?
Wow.
I thought Leslie's been at the airport for an hour, right? It was nice. Thanks, Dream.
Yeah. I was gonna mention, I remember my dad always I think you and him both were searching for each other at some of those amateur wrestling tournaments. Because I remember he used to bring it up to me, and I thought, like, that's a lot of pressure, because I didn't really come into my own amateur wrestling lives until high school. I was not very good at the junior level.
Yeah.
Didn't have any upper body strength. I didn't have any technique. And I remember you guys were kind of like, it was like the rivalry.
Oh yeah, it was a family tradition, brother. We're going to find out. That would have been insanity, but it never happened, man. It wasn't because I didn't drive.
Well, you remember some of those more I hate saying it, but Georgia and there in the South, some of those more hillbilly parents.
Yeah.
Man, when they'd wrestle, I'm sure it was the same with Reed. When they'd wrestle me, they treat it like they were wrestling Dusty Rhodes himself.
Are you kidding? That's what Reed went through every weekend. They have 300 kids around the mat hollering, screaming. I was, of course, a bad guy anyway. At least your dad was portrayed as a good guy, but they were dying to beat Reed. Unreal.
Yeah, but it was almost like, here you are, you're this little kid. Little kid. Like, I think I started when I was 9, and they're all around the mats, and these parents, none of the other matches are being watched at this tournament, and it's like everybody was rooting against you, and I'm thinking, man, I don't have anything to do with this. I remember. That's why I'm definitely glad Reed and I never crossed paths, because I think that would have torn the joint down. It would have been the end of the tournament.
I know. Well, thing of it is, it's probably better it didn't happen. But me and your dad, we were doing it, man. We'd sit and talk, and I'd watch you, and he'd watch Reed, and you and Reed actually got to know each other pretty well then. and you guys got to visit between matches. That was a great time. And to me, if you look at it like this, and you can have that opportunity to go on. I mean, it's kind of like what you've gone through in your lifetime, being the son of the legendary Dusty Rhodes, is a lot what Ashley and Reed have had to go through. And like Ashley got there, and she it's just in the next week that she will have been in the business 4 years.
Wow.
And it's funny because I don't discuss this a lot, but the opportunity, Ashley never wrestled as an independent, and the resentment against her because she wasn't an indie wrestler,
right?
Was it just caught me off guard. I go, what do you mean their dad? They're mad at me. They don't like me because I would never wrestle the indies. I said, well, the answer to that is because she did promo classes with Dusty. The answer to that is that by the way, I had a Division I scholarship and I went to college. I'm sorry you guys didn't. But she was too shy to say that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Sorry I got recruited by 90 schools and decided to go to school and get a degree. I'm sorry, you idiots.
Well,
but it's ridiculous. The resentment, it was terrible for her.
But take a look at the current landscape with her walking out at WrestleMania, and as champion. That's one of those things. But perception, it is a little frustrating when the perception is that if you were on the independents, you're automatically very good. Now, there's a ton of guys that came from the independents who are just excellent, but it's very similar. When I started, everyone wanted to kind of rewrite history, and I mean, I was a referee for my dad when I was 15 years old for his independent promotion, and I've been around the sport of professional wrestling since my earliest memory. That's what we talked about. So it was weird to see bad experience, which is a different type of experience, get kind of discredited because I had never wrestled an independent match. So because that's the reality. Tom Greener sent me right to OVW. He didn't tell me to wait a year. He didn't even tell me to. He didn't give me anything other than you're gonna love it here, and you're gonna be safe here, and you're gonna learn here. And I know all about that.
Yeah, no, it's funny because so Dreamer is the way you got to OVW.
So I basically, here's what happened. I had a good little run with amateur wrestling, and I got recruited by a couple schools. One of them being Penn State, and I
wow, the Mecca right now.
Oh,
they're the number one program in the country with that kid that moved there from the kid from Iowa State. What's his name?
Yeah. What is it?
The guy that broke Dan Gable's records. It doesn't matter.
They're drawing.
Yeah, huge.
They're drawing big houses for school meets and stuff like that. So I got recruited, and my SAT score needed to get raised, but they seemed pretty locked in for some sort of scholarship. And I had reached the point where I did not think I was going to be able to succeed at a college level. I really didn't have any interest in going to college. What I wanted to do was I wanted to be an actor. And the reason I wanted to be an actor is because I thought I was not physically big enough to be in Dad's business. I just thought I wasn't, which is weird, but I thought I wasn't. So as soon as high school was over, as soon as the summer started, me and Teal packed up a car to the Brim Volkswagen Jetta, drove across the country, and I got an apartment in Los Angeles. And that whole time I was out there, I was watching, Randy Orton on TV and some of the great stuff. And I kind of realized that I was thinking about wrestling way more than I was thinking about acting. I had a great acting coach out there, and he ended up coming to the Performance Center, and he's worked with Ashley, actually. So it was a great contact to have. But after about 10 months, I thought, what the hell are you doing? So I had him write me a letter of recommendation because I was stage manager, and
it was in the blood, man.
John Laurinaitis.
it was in the blood, meant to be.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yep. No, I just couldn't run. I couldn't run from it. I met with John Laurinaitis at the Marriott, the one you guys would quite often reference.
You talking about on Riverdale Road?
On Riverdale Road,
God, that place. That's where
the mayor.
That's where the chicks could stop by and on the way to Disney World and ride Space Mountain before they got to Florida
for free.
Jesus. But yeah, no, I met him. I met Dean Malenko. Dean Malenko gave me some of the best advice of my life that night. And told me, don't do anything like your dad. You know, don't right now. Don't bleach your hair blonde. Don't do the jabs and don't do the elbow. Don't go by the Rhodes name just yet. Go to OVW and try to carve out your own niche. And then Tommy called me, and Tommy sent me there to Louisville. I had a great time.
Great. We got to give a shout out to Dean right now. He's finally back on the road.
Well, Cody, you know, everybody's wanting to know what the biggest, hottest free agent in the entire business is planning to do next. You really set the internet on fire with your to-do list. Kind of catch everybody up as to what the next chapter of your life looks like and where people can catch you.
Well, the list, I certainly did not expect it to kind of catch on like it did, and I'm glad it did, and I fully intend on, and some of them, I mean, like, let's say 2/3 of the list is already the pen, you know, has hit paper, and those are signed and ready to rock. But the big news for me was I am going to be a guest star on season 5 of Arrow, and that we just were able to announce it last week at Heroes and Villains in Secaucus, New Jersey, and to be able to give that a shot and give it my undivided and full attention really excites me. It just blows my mind because it's such a wonderful universe Greg Berlanti has created for television. So I'm thrilled about that. So basically what I did is I have booked up my year for all of 2016, and there's matches every week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I'm gonna take a little time off to focus on everything that comes with acting. But I'll be right back in it. I think the big match that most people I know,
Kurt Angle,
me versus Kurt.
Yeah,
I can't not mention that.
Hey, watch the low single, kid. Watch the low single.
I could watch it all day long. Still get me with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hey, did you watch Dolph against Seth Rollins the other night?
I didn't. How was it?
That was great. But Dolph took Seth down 5 times. I think Dolph was so tired of doing the JOB that he likes to show everybody that it's fantasy.
I think that people forget because he's not necessarily as big.
Yeah.
As Brock Lesnar or Jack Swagger, some of the guys with an amateur acumen.
Yeah.
Dolph Ziggler is like Kent State's most winning wrestler. That man, when he wants to, we had a couple. You watched him.
Yeah.
The referee's position that one.
Yeah.
Nights where I was a little worried, and then I was getting a little pissed too. Like, well, I'm gonna give him the best thing I could find from Georgia, the old couple.
Because I used to stir it up for these guys because I love what Dolph because he's been wrestling the big guy Corbin, right? Yeah. I said, well, you can let him know long before you have to take the boot that you can stretch him. Dolph's a tough kid, man. He ain't afraid. He's not afraid of anybody.
He's a very tough kid, and he's one of those who has that earned reputation backstage, at least, of you're going to get tied up if this goes further. No, he's the real deal.
Yeah, I love him. I texted him the other night. I said, "Looking good, kid. You're a unique individual."
Yeah. I actually was looking this morning at some Kurt Angle stuff because I was so disappointed that when I got to WWE in 2007, when I debuted on Raw, he was just on his way out. We were like ships in the night. I'm thrilled, but also pretty nervous for that whole weekend.
Hey, let me tell you something. But the best story I have about Kurt Angle is I had to wrestle him just like I had to wrestle Brock, right? So
yeah,
I get a text from Michael Hayes. Hey, at Raw Monday in L.A., but either L.A. or Phoenix or Vegas, something like that. I think it was L.A. You're wrestling Angle. I go, okay, cool. I go, 3 minutes, 18 minutes. I go, you gotta be kidding me. I'm not ready for that. I mean, give me a break, right? So, but this is how good Kurt is. So, he was trying to lead me, which never works. I got to lead, or I'm not. So I know what I'm capable of doing. And
Sure.
wrestling him at the age of 55 was not me like wrestling him at 35. So
Right.
he didn't like me leading, but it turned out good. But I was so blown up that I had him give me the belly to back, pick up the, I said, pick up the thing, the mat, right? And give me the belly to back on a cement. That's how good he is, right? I never even felt it. I felt 10 times worse, right? And I stayed out there for about 2 minutes catching my breath. The referee kept saying, "You okay?" I said, yeah, fine. Just start counting and break it again.
Yeah.
But he's the best. I mean, you don't even know with Kurt. I mean, the thing of it is, you've ever seen him do that moonsault off the big cage?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, the guy can do
Terrifying.
anything. Yeah, he's one of my favorite people. I love him to death. But man, he is a primo performer in the ring. Great guy.
Yeah, I talked to him really briefly when we made the announcement. And one of the cool things that he wanted to do was he wants to do a charity T-shirt. And I'm looking at one of the designs now, and they're going to sell them that night, August 27th, and they're going to put them online too. And I think Kurt's going to announce the charity in a few days. But just seeing us faced off, just seeing us illustrated together, it's there's a lot of motivations for my departure from WWE, but certainly want to prove something.
Are you in Lewiston? Where are you guys having? Where are you having the match?
That match is in Wappinger Falls, New York.
Wappinger Falls.
I'm not
Is that
pronouncing that correctly?
Is that
Dodger Stadium?
And who's the promoter again?
That's Mike O'Brien.
Mike O'Brien. Okay, I just worked for Mike. What about? I worked for Mike on 3 weeks ago. In Hickory, North Carolina. So it was cool. Yeah, Mike's a good guy. He's first class, and he does things very well organized.
Yeah, Mike's special to me because at the tail end of kind of in the winter of my father's life, after Dad had finished his TCW/ECW run, Mike picked up where they left off and just booked my dad all over the country, but didn't just pimp him out there. He put him in situations where he was safe. He put him with people that he trusted, and he made a lot of money for my dad during a time where most people don't know we were living like it was 1985 still, but we were low on income, and Mike O'Brien really came in and made the save. So I love Mike. When he asked me to do this and then said it's going to be you versus Kurt Angle, I think I just went out and ran 3 miles right when I heard it, just to make sure I could get my wind to the right spot.
Yeah, you might want to start running 5.
Oh, believe me, that's all. When the 90-day non-compete kind of shows up, I figured, well, what am I going to do? And it's kind of like becoming a professional athlete. Like all we do here at the house is train. I do 2 workouts a day. Brandy gets in my Challenger behind me if she's not running with me, and in the middle of the night just shines the light on the road, and there I go.
Man,
it's a hell of a time.
Well, that isn't the way your dad would have trained, but I admire you for it.
Different stroke.
Please tell me you're having a Coors Light after those training sessions.
Honestly, Rick, I'm gonna break the news to you. I only people that I ever have Coors Lights with, the only was you and Fitz Finley. I am not a big. I think you made that. I think you deduced that from the European door. Dusty and I are not alike in the party sense of things as much as.
Oh, I realize that. My God, you're still alive. Your dad was walking a fine line like I have been, man.
Yeah.
Well, I know you had a beverage at your house in the party at WrestleMania.
Man, you were the guest of honor. We really missed you.
Yeah, I know. Though I had to go rehearse. You know how that goes.
Oh, absolutely. There all night,
Are you feeling stuck making minimum payments on your credit card debt? SaveWithConrad.com can help, and you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Oh, and did I mention no house payments for 2 months? Get rid of your credit card debt and lower your monthly payments right now at SaveWithConrad.com. So Cody, let's address the internet rumor that has Reddit going wild.
Okay.
That this is all a big elaborate hoax between Cody Rhodes and Triple H, and it's just an angle to get rid of Stardust, and Cody Rhodes will be back after he drums up some internet buzz on the indies and then makes his triumphant return to WWE.
I could tell you 100% that WWE and myself have gone separate ways. I saw even there was a rumor about like a merchandising contract, and that I think that might stem from the fact that the only discussion post WWE was about my dad's book, and it was very important to me that they granted me the right to write his book before I left. But it was important, you know. I knew that was one of the big risks I was taking with leaving as well. They may take the book away from me. They did not. I'm still writing Dusty Rhodes, Wrestling Glass Cowboy, and I'm excited at the progress it's taking. I didn't want anyone else to write it. Dusty was he was my best friend. We were very close, and everybody knows that. And I've tried to kind of do justice to his legacy, as has WWE. Triple H rolled out a hell of a series of things with statue, the tournament.
Oh my God! Hey,
Yeah.
not to jump in on you, but
Oh yeah.
and I talked about it this year at the Hall of Fame, if you remember correctly.
Yep, sir.
I thank the company, what they did, which was appropriate. It wasn't like it wasn't unexpected. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But they more than
Honored his memory.
honored his memory, and they put it in a position where it'll be there forever, and everybody, it's just one of those special things. And they did pretty damn near the same thing for Roddy on a smaller scale, because of the fact that the funeral was, outside of Portland, Oregon, impossible to get to. But
Yeah.
and they didn't have the relationship quite with Roddy that they had with your dad. So your dad was, currently working at NXT and all that, and just really part of the family, and such a contribution. But boy, I tell you, here's how sad it was. I was getting on a plane. I was so excited to go see the Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 6.
Right.
And
Of course you were. You tweet about it.
no, I'm talking about last year.
Well, you were
I
quick
know,
in
but I
too.
feel like when I follow you, most of your tweets are about the Cavs.
Of course they are. Yeah, well, I don't know what it is. I must have a man crush on LeBron or something, but I'm ashamed of it. Anyway, I like him almost as much as I liked your dad back in '72. That's saying a lot. So anyway, I'm sitting to get on a plane with Wendy, and I get a call from Hunter. He said, "Hey, the dream went." I said, "What?" I mean, I almost fell over. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
'Cause I had just been with him.
A couple days before.
I had just been with him on Tuesday, and he was so pissed that I was getting to go to the game. I was down there visiting Ashley, went by the Performance Center, and he was so pissed that I was getting to go to the game, because we were always jealous about sports. And then I got the call, and then geez, what?
Yeah, he went to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, you've seen him a few days before. He went to work the day before.
No, I know. I was in the office with him. We were bullshitting
Yeah.
about it, because Bret Hart had paid you this awesome compliment. I think I told you the story.
Yeah.
Bret had said to me, he said, we had him on the podcast,
Right.
and Bret said that he thought that it was that the company didn't handle you and promote you the right way. He liked somebody else too. That was it.
He really put over Cody and thought Cody was one of the best performers on the roster.
Oh, he did for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
and your dad was pretty happy to hear that. So, and I am positive. It's hard for you to see that right now, but this little break from TV, it's funny. I took the year off because I thought when the company got bought by WWE that I was on my way. They called me and said, "You want to come?" I said, "Hell," I didn't hear from them for a year.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but it gave me a break from everything. I was so stale from WCW and the nightmare of working there, and I was so happy to close down. But when I came back, I mean, and you know they're going to reach out to you, and it'll all work out. You'll be back doing it again. And at 31, I mean, you got so much ahead of you. You've been pretty much injury free. That's the only thing you got to be careful of in the independent stuff. Don't be doing that moonsault off the cage or anything, okay?
Yeah,
Because Lombardi's a good guy, but he's not going to pay you for your health insurance, okay?
no, I think I kind of retired the moonsault.
When I saw you do that, I almost came out of my. When I saw you do that, I almost came out of the chair. It was against you were wrestling against Road Dogg and
yeah, see, that one kind of goes bad because
see what a memory I've got. See what a memory I've got. I can tell you who
that one. That one goes bad because he didn't really have much choice, and my knee would have come down right on his head, and I was cockeyed, and I went to the middle, not the corner. It was funny because I was so confident from the one I'd done with Cesaro in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
I rolled right into the pin, 1, 2, 3, and the people came alive for it. So I thought, oh well, it's TV. And I also have a fear of heights. So as soon as I set my feet, that's kind of my rule. I look down at my feet and go. But after that one, because I slightly tore my MCL, slight tear, just where it was a little wobbly, and I had a brace for a little while. But after that one, I thought maybe I'll put this away.
Well, it's funny. I knew you were a hell of an athlete, but I didn't know you could do that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Because I had seen you work 100 times, but I never saw you do anything like that. It's kind of like that's why Ashley is whatever they want to say about Ashley. She's the best athlete in the roster. She can do anything. That moonsault at WrestleMania pretty much summed it all up, right? I mean, it was
picture perfect.
Yeah, I mean, and she can do anything. And now you know what she wants to do when she wrestles at SummerSlam. She wants to do that.
No, don't give a spoiler right now.
Okay,
so tune into SummerSlam. And
yeah. She's gonna try some ridiculous thing, something like Neville does.
I always get like it's interesting when I decided to leave and I was thinking of different guys I want to compete with, you know, and Kurt Angle being on that list, guys like Adam Cole, guys like Shibata in New Japan, and people think like, oh well, I don't. At the last 2 years of my time in WWE, doing Stardust, it kind of like rewrote some of the history on what I did as Cody Rhodes, and I hated that because I always felt pretty confident that I could go. I don't think I'm delusional about my skill set, and I always like because you've been on tour with me, Rick. Pro wrestling is the greatest thing on earth. I want to know how it works. I want to know what we could do better. I constantly, I've asked you, poor Mike Rotunda, I've asked 1,000 times about the same match. I was just glued to that network the moment it came out with all the classic stuff, especially from the Bulk section. So that's one of the reasons I'm very excited to kind of get out there and be in some of these arenas that I really never thought I'd be in, and places I never thought I'd be in, like Bola, in Reseda, California. I want, if they don't know, that's the goal. By the end of the night, I want them to know like that the pro wrestling I take very seriously, and if you paid for a ticket, I want you to get more than your money's worth.
Well, that's you just said the key words. That was our motto. We unfortunately we had so much fun, but we took a lot of pride in delivering a product that people paid.
Oh yeah,
and that's why. That's why if it wasn't working in 30 minutes, I was out there for 45. If 45 wasn't working, I was out there for 50 because I didn't want to let anybody down, and I think that was something that's helped my career along the way. Is people knew that I wasn't going to take a night off if there was 200 or 20,000. So and that's very important. I mean, to have that much pride in yourself and that much pride in the product. So. Yeah, it worked. I mean, your dad and I, man, who knows? It wouldn't matter, but it was never 200 with me and your dad. Sorry to report to anybody else, but it was never 200. Maybe 10,000 every night.
I watched kind of your series of matches with Dream this past week. I got real retrospective. I think I texted you from my bar.
You sent me one, yeah.
I got, I even watched 1981 when your first NWA championship when you take it from the Dream, and then I watched the $1 Million Challenge and the Gathering, and then the Bash. Because the Bash, I think, is when I was a kid, I watched the bash with him, and I think that's his favorite of all your matches in the cage. Small package, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
30-year anniversary of that coming up, July 13th.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal. I go on record as saying, this is what the only thing that, I've had a lot of beefs with the NWA, but towards the end of it, but to put us in Kansas City where nobody knew us, unless they had a little bit of Atlanta TV, right? And had the switch there in a building that held 3,200 people, instead of having us do it in Florida or Charlotte or somewhere, they wanted to take of all the places. And your dad had just gotten it. He didn't want to lose it. Michelle was there. I felt terrible.
No.
Huh?
Oh, they guilted you.
Well, no, I felt terrible because your dad didn't want to lose it, and all of a sudden it just came around. He didn't want to lose it that fast. And
do you think they did it in Kansas City to protect Dusty rather than an area where he was super hot, like in Florida, that maybe he drops it in Kansas City, it doesn't hurt him as bad?
I don't know the answer to that, but
Great question.
It's a good question, but hell, we could go anywhere,
right?
But it should have been someplace where we're both over,
right?
It could have been Georgia. It could have been neutral. That would be North Carolina. It could have been Atlanta, Georgia. It could have been Columbus, Georgia.
And had it been,
where someplace where they knew us and we could tear it down. And it just was I thought a really unfair scenario that and I didn't tell anybody because I was instructed not to. And your dad, of course, brought Michelle, but my mom and dad came. It's one of the few times they saw me wrestle. I didn't take Beth. I didn't tell her. She was so bad.
Wasn't that one of those situations where the vote was like one of those split votes? Amongst, the NWA.
Just 5-4.
If you
5-4
watch that Kansas City match, and to your point exactly, like had that been the Bayfront Senate, had that been, it's very strange.
Well, or Greensboro, it just to put a neutral territory, put it in Atlanta.
Get the house you want with the payment you want at buywithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this at buywithconrad.com. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. The first step to buying a house is buywithconrad.com.
Now, here's a prediction I'm going to make. I think I mentioned this on a previous podcast. I think the first guy to go from AEW to WWE will be Cody Rhodes. And I have no factual basis for that. I don't know his contract status. I just have that feeling. I don't know why. I just have that feeling. And I got to tell you, there are people in that locker room that have that feeling too.
It's possible. I know they'd take him back. I'm sure they would. Hey, the name RHODES is going to be in this business until the day that the business drops off the face of this earth. And if they can bring Cody Rhodes back in, it would be a feather in their hat. It would that would speak volumes on Vince it would speak volumes for Vince to change his mind about something, because he can have a frame of mind where he goes, I'm not going to go back there. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to revisit it. And then someone can tap on the shoulder and say, hey, it's Cody Rhodes. You know what I mean? So.
Well, like I said, I'm not putting a timetable on it, but it would not surprise me. But I got to tell you, I don't know if I'd want to be the first guy to go from AEW to WWE, because you're going to get a paycheck, but you might get buried too.
I think Cody's smart enough to decipher that. I think you got to make Cody's growing up 20 years in 5 years. In terms of smarts, logistics, knowing how to promote himself. He wouldn't walk in there blindsided.
Yep, I agree with that. And Nate, that's what makes your first run in WWE incredible. Because if anybody would figure to get buried upon entry in WWE, it'd be you. You were the standard bearer for the other guys, for the competition. But instead, give Vince credit. He saw you for what you were and let you take it to the top there, too.
Mark, I say this very humbly. I was too good to be buried.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I totally agree, but that hasn't.
Who was going to bury me?
You make a compelling argument.
I left the people behind me that could bury me.
Good point. Good point. You could have got buried any worse in the new place than you had been at the old place.
Are you kidding? I got to hang out with some of the greatest people. As I say, I got to wrestle Hogan. I got to wrestle Randy. I got to wrestle Bret Hart. I got to wrestle The Undertaker. Are you kidding me? It was the greatest year and a half and the most fun I ever had. And I made the biggest mistake I ever made was going back.
Now, before we wrap this,
Well, we're going to pay some bills right now and tell you guys about LegacySups.com. If you're a regular listener, you've probably heard us talk about LegacySups.com, the professional grade nutrition supplements made right here in the USA that can help you reach whatever goals you have for your body, your health, your performance, or your well-being. And instead of another ad read, we wanted to share some verified reviews from Top Rated, an independent review site, so you can hear what legitimate customers think of the results they get from Legacy products. Like Jonathan had this to say, quote, I was skeptical at first, but after going through my second bottle of Recovery PM, I am a true convert. Even with the most strenuous workout days, I sleep and recover fully the next day. We'll continue to support these products going forward and look forward to anything new. Emmanuel says, amazing products and very fast shipping. Blake says, absolutely love the Legacy Test Stack. I feel like I have more drive and energy to power through my workouts. My sleep has also improved. So try Legacy out today at LegacySups.com. That's LegacySups.com and join thousands of satisfied customers who've tried the best-selling testosterone booster Test X9, the best-selling sleep aid Recovery PM, or try their newest products like Salted Caramel Protein. It's Salted Caramel Premium Whey Protein, or NO2 Pro for the best pump you've ever had. And allegedly, it even gives you better performance south of the border, if you know what I mean. Don't forget to use promo code FLAIR. Save 10% off your entire order and help support this show. Level up with LegacySups.com. That's LegacySups.com. The promo code FLAIR will save you 10%. Let's do another one here.
now I want to get to AEW for a second because Sammy Gueverra and Cody Rhodes had a great ladder match that King Dave Meltzer gave 5 stars. What's your take on ladder matches in general? What are the pros and cons?
Well, first of all, they had a great match.
Yep.
The pros and cons are, and I've just become aware of this or thought more, I put more thought into this after having been in, I've been in 2. Number one, the guys that do these things and take these huge bumps are phenomenal. You know, I have nothing but respect for. But I think that I worry every time I see something like that, especially a big move like from ladder to ladder, kind of like when I guess he gave Sammy gave Cody like a reverse stunner off the top, right?
Like a cutter. He hit with a cutter off the top of both ladders.
I mean, yeah. And I went, oh my God. I mean, for Cody, Sammy, I'm sure, is used to all that stuff. I didn't know Cody could do that. You forget how athletic Cody is.
Yep.
Cody looked like the Cody that was in WWE, who do moonsaults off the top of a cage and stuff like that. It was tremendous. But as usual, I'm concerned for the health.
Yep.
And the welfare of everybody. That just comes with me being older. I don't want anybody's career to get cut short because of something crazy. And you know what? Every bump you take like that is something that you won't bother you till you're in your 40s, or 50s, or 60s. So, but I've got nothing but respect for it. But once again, I've said this: nothing's ever really impressed me as much as Edge spearing Jeff Hardy. And I live by that. I've been in 2 of them myself, and I just said to Matt Hardy, I said one time, I trust you, give me any bump you want, whatever it is. And when I did it with Edge in a singles, I just said, Edge, I'll just follow your lead. I can take anything you give me, but I would never try to give you a bump because I'm not, I don't know. It's not that I couldn't do it, but not at 55. You don't start learning how to be in a ladder match.
Well, stay with that because at 55 doing a ladder match, I mean, you hadn't done it. I think that was your first one against Edge, right? Or was it the second one?
First one. Yeah.
So like, how do you figure out something like that? Even somebody as decorated as you and athletic as you and who knows how to work like you, how do you figure that out overnight?
Yeah, I just got to the building and Edge, I said, what can you do with it? What have you done? What can you do with me that you have never done with anybody else? And where he jumped off the top of the ladder on me. But every other one, he just put it together. I just took the bumps. I didn't do anything.
Now you mentioned,
and Lita was fabulous in it.
Now you mentioned Jeff versus Edge, which was at 2009 Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
And I think that probably set the standard all time for ladder matches, didn't it?
Please. The spear off the top of the ladder in midair. Jesus. I mean, that bump from my standpoint is every bit as thrilling as the stuff that Mick did off the top of the cage with Taker.
I agree. Actually, not to blast Mick, but even more so because, it involved, two people, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's much harder to take care of two people than it is one.
Right, exactly. Now, I want to get back to Sammy and Cody for a sec because I think the world of Sammy and I think the world of Cody too. And I love that match. I think Sammy's one of the best 3 or 4 workers in the business now, but unfortunately with those two.
Whoa.
No, I'm telling you.
Okay, in the business.
Yeah, who's better? I mean, okay, among the men, how's that?
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
I think that because, like, who's better? Who's having matches like him on a consistent basis right now? I don't want to hear what, somebody did 10 years ago. I mean, right now.
Who's having matches like what?
Better matches than Sammy right now.
In our business?
Yep.
My daughter.
Yep. Okay, keep going. I agree.
Randy Orton in every single match is in.
Okay, keep going.
AJ Styles.
Maybe. Right now? Right this second? Maybe.
Yeah. If you put him in a match like that, he's got to be put in that scenario.
Well, right, but
who's capable of it?
I'm talking about reality, not fantasy. The Young Bucks hardly even work anymore. They're hardly ever on TV. They're hurt or they're sick, and that's not their fault, but they're not working.
Okay, but you're asking me who when they're working. I don't book the shows, so
I know, not yet. But
Sammy, was he 25 yet?
28, I think.
Yeah, he's not expected to be at their level yet. He's really good. Don't take me wrong.
Yeah,
he's really good. But if you put AJ Styles in that match, he's going to be better. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure. Right now, I'm not sure.
We're having a debate. That's what the show is all about.
Right. What about Bryan Danielson? Who's better right now, Sammy or Bryan Danielson? Right now.
Bryan. Or your buddy, Sammy.
Right. I think.
Absolutely. He's better than CM Punk right now.
Yep. Well, yeah, he is.
Well, I'll concede what you're asking me. I'm just saying,
yep.
You're asking me if who's the best. You said men's division, not matches.
I think Sammy's having great matches. I mean, I
didn't say he didn't, but you asked me who. You said he's one of the best men in the business. He's not.
Yep. Well, I think he's top 5.
Top 10, maybe.
Okay, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I might go a bit higher. But anyway, back to my original point. My one complaint about that match was the move you said before, which was very thrilling, and it's something people remember.
It wasn't the finish.
Right. If you do a cutter from ladder to ladder off the top of both ladders, that has to be the finish.
Absolutely.
What were they thinking?
They weren't. To quote Art Anderson, they weren't.
Now, I want to ask you about this match because you and I have talked about this before. The ladder match at WrestleMania 10 between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, which kind of brought ladder matches into the public eye. What was your take on that match?
Well, I just, as we've talked about, Shawn Michaels is one of those guys that could do anything. So I just thought that it was unique, it was brand new, and it was exciting. And, obviously, it the fact that we're talking about it all these years later, it entertained a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. And
But I definitely think the match was great because of Shawn.
I think
Razor was in there like I was with with Edge, just
Right.
to take the bumps.
Right.
Sean gave the bumps and Razor took them.
Yeah. No,
Much like me and Edge. I mean, Edge was the guy that got me through it, as Sean got Razor through it.
and I don't think that that's an insult to Scott at all.
It's not.
I think that's just a tribute to Sean. And also for him to do it then, when how many ladder matches had there been and what kind of blueprint was there for him and Scott to work with? That's what made it most impressive, perhaps.
Exactly. Was that the first one ever?
I think there had been some, but not at that level, not with that visibility.
Yeah. And not with Shawn Michaels.
That's exactly right. Could not have put it better. Here's a note from Steve Kaufman, our producer, referring back to our segment about the ladder match. Bret Hart claims to have done a ladder match at a house show. Well, of course he does. Bret Hart's done everything first.
Is Bret listening right now?
I don't know.
Of course, I don't know.
Wrestling fans, it's time to win with Zyn. Get to WrestlingPrizes.com to register for your chance to win one of 4 once-in-a-lifetime digital Q&A sessions with wrestling legends Ric Flair, Eric Bischoff, Jim Ross, or Mick Foley. Winners also get an autographed replica championship belt and a prize pack from Zyn, America's #1 nicotine pouch. Register once per day, now through July 15th. WrestlingPrizes.com. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to U.S. residents 21 and over. Void where prohibited. For official rules, visit WrestlingPrizes.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Let's move on to Cody Rhodes, who just won the TNT championship from Sammy Gueverra in AEW. When did you first meet Cody? Because I remember Cody being around WCW with his dad way back when.
No, I met Cody with I used to travel with Reed for amateur wrestling. And Cody was a Georgia state champion. But this is when they were both like younger. I think Cody is 3 years older or 2 years. They never wrestled each other. That's funny because I was dying for Cody and Reed to work back then, as were Dusty and I. But they were an age bracket apart where I couldn't even bump him up high enough. But I mean, Cody's just, he's a diamond, man, for me. I think the world of the kid. He's done all this on his own, had the balls to step away from it, challenge it, married a beautiful girl, Brandy, who supports him. And they, I talk to Michelle a lot, not a lot, but once a month I'll text Michelle, man, the kid is golden. So, it's kind of like, no, and I understand it, but I mean, I can't figure out how AEW got the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament when I appreciate Tony for doing it, but that's something that if the company feels that strongly about Brett and Owen, that's something that I wish the WWE had jumped on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but they didn't and weren't going to because of their relationship with Owen's family over the lawsuit.
I didn't know that. So that,
yeah.
Well, I'm proud of Tony for doing it because I never knew Owen that well, but he certainly is very respected by so many people, and I never got to know him. I never got to wrestle with him. So, but I think any time that, they had the Dusty Rhodes Memorial, some kind of a tournament.
They had a tag team tournament, NXT.
At NXT, yeah.
Right.
So I mean, eventually one day I would bump that up to a main roster a show because Dusty's a character and a name that'll never be forgotten, always be remembered, and there's not going to be another Dusty Rhodes.
Well, that said, I was always disappointed that Cody never got the opportunity I felt he deserved in WWE. And I didn't like him as Stardust.
That's why he left.
Well, I know. I didn't like him as Stardust. I liked him when he was in that Legacy thing with Randy Orton and with Teddy DiBiase's kid. But yeah, I give him credit. Like you said, he went against the machine.
Yep.
He left and created his own machine.
Yep.
And let's be honest, Tony Khan provides the money, and there were a lot of other influences like Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. We could go down the list. But Cody Rhodes is the primary reason for AEW's existence. There's no doubt about that. He pushed the button first, pushed it hardest, and he got things done.
That's the way I understand it, yes. Because he had his own little promotion going, I think, before Tony came in. So,
well, yeah, he did that. He did that pay-per-view, that All In.
yeah, and that's what I think it started, Tony. And I don't know the intricacies of all that, but hey, I'm a big fan of Cody Rhodes. He knows that I text him all the time. So,
Well, I think the big thing for Cody was when he first left WWE, he went to Ring of Honor, which now looks like it's going to be belly up or in a very, limited capacity moving forward. But he went to Ring of Honor, and he used the creative freedom there to reinvent himself and to help others reinvent themselves. And honestly, they picked up a lot of what Ring of Honor was doing with the Bucks, with Bullet Club, with Hangman Page, and just moved it right over to AEW. And I don't fault Ring of Honor for letting those guys go. What was going to happen was going to happen, but that's where it all started to happen. Cody Rhodes in Ring of Honor.
yeah, I didn't see that. So I don't know how it evolved, but wherever it evolved and however it evolved, it worked. And Cody is once again put himself in a very special place.
Now, what do you like about Cody talent-wise? What makes him, a top performer?
Well, I tell you, when he did the moonsault off the cage with WWE, I looked at him in a whole different light. I didn't realize how athletic it was. He's one of these kids that can do anything. And, just being so close to his dad, to see those boys, both of them be so successful, and even at different ages and different time frames. Every time you see a second generation kid do well, you can't be proud enough of them, especially if you're the son of the legendary Dusty Rhodes.
Well, in the match that Cody had with Dustin, remember that in AEW on pay-per-view,
Yes.
brother versus brother?
Yes.
That was phenomenal. And the
Yep.
way they did the angle leading up in the promos,
Yep.
it's one of the very few times brother versus brother worked. The only times that brother versus brother worked, to my mind, were Rhodes versus Rhodes and Hardy versus Hardy.
And Funk versus Funk.
Oh, Nate, that's even before my time, believe it or not.
I don't know if they did it. I'm making a joke, but
I'm not sure they did.
I don't think they did it, but that would have been classic.
Well,
No, but I tell you, no, I totally agree. I saw all those matches, and I think, it just Cody and Dustin put on a clinic that night, and I just, like I say, I'm so proud of both of them. It's very hard. You can imagine how hard it is to be a second generation wrestler when your last name is Rhodes, and the pressure that's on you, and it's all the comparison. I happen to be experiencing, I've had to experience the heartache personally that my daughter went through because people just said she's Ric Flair's daughter, which is the biggest crock of shit in the world. She's the greatest because she's the greatest, and it surpassed me a long time ago. So
now, here's a prediction I'm going to make. I think I mentioned this on a previous podcast. I think the first guy to go from AEW to WWE will be Cody Rhodes. And I have no factual basis for that. I don't know his contract status. I just have that feeling. I don't know why. I just have that feeling. And I got to tell you, there are people in that locker room that have that feeling too.
it's possible. I know they'd take him back. I'm sure they would. Hey, the name RHODES is going to be in this business until the day that the business drops off the face of this earth. And if they can bring Cody Rhodes back in, it would be a feather in their hat. It would that would speak volumes on Vince it would speak volumes for Vince to change his mind about something, because he can have a frame of mind where he goes, I'm not going to go back there. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to revisit it. And then someone can tap on the shoulder and say, hey, it's Cody Rhodes. You know what I mean? So,
well, like I said, I'm not putting a timetable on it, but it would not surprise me. But I got to tell you, I don't know if I'd want to be the first guy to go from AEW to WWE, because you're going to get a paycheck, but you might get buried too.
I think Cody's smart enough to decipher that. I think you got to make Cody's growing up 20 years in 5 years. In terms of smarts, logistics, knowing how to promote himself, he wouldn't walk in there blindsided.
Yep, I agree with that. And Nate, that's what makes your first run in WWE incredible. Because if anybody would figure to get buried upon entry in WWE, it'd be you. You were the standard bearer for the other guys, for the competition. But instead, I mean, give Vince credit. He saw you for what you were and let you take it to the top there, too.
Mark, I say this very humbly. I was too good to be buried.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I totally agree. But that hasn't.
Who was going to bury me?
You make a compelling argument.
I left the people behind me that could bury me.
Good point. Good point. You could have got buried any worse in the new place than you had been at the old place.
Are you kidding? I got to hang out with some of the greatest people. As I say, I got to wrestle Hogan. I got to wrestle Randy. I got to wrestle Bret Hart. I got to wrestle The Undertaker. Are you kidding me? It was the greatest year and a half and the most fun I ever had. And I made the biggest mistake I ever made was going back.
If you could change one thing about your home, what would it be? A new kitchen, a new master bath, maybe put in a pool? What if you could do it with no money out of pocket and cheaper monthly payments? SaveWithConrad.com can help, and you can even skip your next 2 house payments. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. SaveWithConrad.com.
And now, more Ric Flair.
All right, so now it's time for our main event here on the Ric Flair Show. It's our interview with Cody Rhodes, and it's brought to you by our friends at 1FMC.com. Find out how much you can save on your next home loan by getting a quick quote at 1FMC.com. And if you missed part 1 of the Cody Rhodes interview, don't worry. It's still in the archives right now, and it's a great listen. And we wrapped up part 1 with Ric and Cody talking about the title change where Dusty dropped the belt to Ric for the very first time. Why was it booked where it was? Why was it in Missouri? Why was it not in Florida? Why wasn't it in Georgia? Why wasn't it in the Carolinas? How did all that come about? And let's go ahead and rejoin Cody Rhodes and Ric Flair, part 2, right here on the Ric Flair Show.
Yeah.
Were you guys as performers privy to what the vote was? Like, did you know ahead of time, or is that something that comes out years later?
No. I knew the Crockett called me and told me. But first of all, I don't think Dusty or myself knew they were having a vote. What happened was Eddie had so much power. Fritz had so much power. Geigel had a little bit of power. Sam had a ton of power. Barnett had a ton of power. Crockett was pushing for me. Eddie,
Right.
of course, pushing. And I think because Crockett was getting so big, I mean, all of a sudden it wasn't just Mid-Atlantic. I mean, he was starting to make moves, right? That Crockett pushed them because all those guys resented Jimmy Crockett. I mean, he wasn't a wrestler. They liked his dad, but Eddie was a former wrestler. Geigel, former wrestler. Barnett, I'm not sure how he got in to begin with, but the Funks, Harley Race, you know what I mean? It's like when Dusty beat Harley, he beat him in Tampa.
Right.
Bayfront Center, man.
Yeah, I mean, it should have been in a scenario where we both had some steam. We would have torn it down. I mean, but we're sitting there and people are looking at us like, hey, I guess I know Dusty Rhodes. I definitely don't know Ric Flair. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that him winning it in at the Bayfront with Harley, because I'm just now thinking about you at Starrcade '83, and it's I believe it's the exact same. It's the same finish. It's a crossbody from the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Same finish, Harley, man. That one that had Harley's number, the old crossbody from the top.
Yeah.
That had him.
Well, let me tell you, it didn't have Harley's number. It had his blessing.
Yeah, that worked.
Because he could have changed it at any point in time.
That worked.
I told you my favorite Harley race story, right?
You told me a few Harley race stories on the bus, and every one of them I
told you about the Hunter one and the Kurt Hennig one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I knew you were talking about Harley because you always simulated you were smoking a cigarette to begin.
Yeah. Well, here for the fans that haven't heard this is the first time that Hunter, who came to WCW, Olivet, right?
Yeah.
Walked in the locker room, and Harley at that time was managing Vader. So and Hunter, Paul Hunter had been in the gym business, and I met him at a Gold's Gym convention because I had the 10 Gold's Gyms. I brought the tape back and bingo, they hired him. So we're in the locker room, and I'm just gonna. This obviously is not real, but I like to use these voices. Okay, I go, Harley. I want you to meet a new guy, Paul Levesque, just coming into business. How do you do, Mr. Race? How you doing, kid? I'm good. Who trained you? Killer Kowalski. He's the shit.
Poor Hunter.
I don't. What are you gonna say? What are you gonna say? And then the Kurt Hennig one. Kurt Hennig in Kansas City, right? Just a new kid starting in Minneapolis, down there working because Larry and them, right? He goes, "Hey, Mr. Race, what's the finish tonight?" What's your finish, kid? Dropping off a top rope. I'll move. Are you kidding me? Those are the best of all time. Oh, he was so intimidating. Harley was afraid of Harley. Oh, geez.
You know, Dusty. He like you know this obviously, Rick, but obviously, Dad modeled a good deal of his career after Muhammad Ali.
Of course,
especially with like Gordon Soley kind of standing in as his Howard Cosell. He always told me growing up he referred to Harley Race as the George Foreman.
Yeah,
that was his George Foreman. Yeah, I always loved the
good analogy.
Parallel. Yeah, that was his George Foreman.
Yeah, he was the shooter.
Yeah.
No, it's funny you said that because I thought it was phenomenal, and I'm sure Conrad and I must have talked about it 100 times, for the NBA Finals to be going on as strong and the ratings that they got for that Friday to completely shut down. And everything for 2 days was committed to Muhammad Ali. Yep. Spoke volumes for who this guy was. I mean, it's really unbelievable. And then the minute the funeral was over, back to basketball. Right. But for that 48 hours, man, it was Muhammad Ali. I mean, and they gave him. I mean, the guy was it. I mean, but your dad was the Muhammad Ali, in terms of, I mean, all the stuff, the wine and dine, the pork and beans. I mean, I don't even know where he got all that shit. But it was phenomenal.
Well, it's like it was.
You only passed through one time, kid. Why not pass by in a Cadillac? While Laura Torn Pec laughing and joking, I'm out front cooking and smoking.
He was inspired by it, and he made it. He took it to pro wrestling, especially with Gordon. And you look at those Gordon and Dusty interviews from Championship Wrestling from Florida. I found one the other day. That is likely my favorite Dusty interview of all time, and it's one that very few people have ever seen. It's about Eric DeWed and Sonny King and Pac Song. It's talking about a bounty that Harley Race had, and it's just amazing. But I can see it, especially after digging into Ali here and there. Man, I can see it. It's fun to see, like. Because that's pro wrestling. I always like that, where you can take something from the mainstream and you can mold it to your audience,
Oh, yeah. Well, your dad, I'll tell you another guy that your dad got a little bit from was Thunderbolt Patterson. Your dad, your dad was the White Thunderbolt at that time. Thunderbolt could talk, man.
Yeah.
He was average in the ring, but he could talk. But your dad took Thunderbolt's rap and took it to a whole new level. I mean, that thing that your dad, the Hard Times promo that he made about me and that, I mean, that promo may be one of the greatest promos of all time.
Absolutely.
Hard Times.
I love the Hard Times promo, but I have so many more of his promos that I like. I think it's just that I've seen Hard Times. I've seen it so much. I do remember WWE.com did a best talkers list. Yeah. And I remember my dad was,
Then I was ahead of him.
I think he was mad about that. And I think but the thing that really set him off was that Thunderbolt Patterson was not on the list.
Yeah. Oh no, he was pissed. He sent me a text. You're number one. That's I said Heyman. I just call Heyman number 4 now every time I see him.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, but that's elite company to be up there in that top 5 with.
Oh yeah, it's heat though, man. I just got the vote because I took off my clothes more times in the ring. As Mean Gene would say, there goes the laundry again.
Oh, I saw an interview with you the other day where you have these massive shades on.
Yeah, okay.
And this is, I think this is before 1981. I think this is 1980s, and you're talking about the Boy. I'm trying to think. It was on the Rivalry. It was on the Rivalry special that they just put out, but it was excellent. It doesn't even sound like
me and your dad.
No, it was pre.
You're in a feud with a black guy, and you called it.
You were coming into your own.
Oh, it's Sonny King. Yeah.
Who is it? Johnny King?
It was Rufus.
Yeah.
No, you're talking about Conway. Something Conway.
Tiger Conway.
Yeah, you're talking about, and you keep calling him a boy, and you got these big ass.
Yeah. That stuff wouldn't fly now. No, Jesus.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Are you kidding me? I'm just glad that social media wasn't around back then because you didn't think about it.
Yeah.
And nobody was uncomfortable with it. You know what I mean? Tiger Conway and I were good friends, as were Rufus and I. I'll tell you something that's funny, and I didn't know this. Cody, you were there. Did you realize that I'm drawing a blank. What's the kid's name that inducted Boss Man?
That was his kids, right?
Kids did Boss Man.
No, okay, not Boss Man. Who was Slick?
Oh yeah.
Do you know what Slick is?
Oh, the manager, Slick. Yeah.
You know what Slick is?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Oh no,
it's Rufus R. Jones' son.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know that. He inducted Boss Man, did he?
You're right.
Yeah.
We were just thinking about, his family accepted.
Yeah, no, Slick is Rufus R. Jones' son, and somebody told me that. I guess his dad and I we had great times. I mean, it's unbelievable. The night he challenged Roddy Piper to drink moonshine, and we went to the interviews in the morning, and your dad said, "Where's Rufus?" And we couldn't find him. And they called from the Kentucky Fried Chicken place he was
passed out on the hood, right?
Passed out on the hood of his car. Piper left him for dead. Kentucky Fried Chicken called the office. And I think one of your wrestlers is still in the parking lot.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
don't
remember my dad.
Don't mess with Piper.
So, Cody, we've talked this whole time. We haven't talked about your brother. What in the hell is he doing? He's found like the fountain of youth. He's performing at a high level, and it doesn't seem like that should be the case as long as he's been in the business. What's the secret? And tell us about your brother a little bit.
I think Dustin's heard this before. He's like, I always call him WWE's Benjamin Button because the guy's getting older, and it seems like he's getting younger. Here's some things that people do not realize, but Dustin and I are 16 years apart, and we grew up in completely different households. And we essentially, even though Dusty is our father, we essentially grew up with different fathers because of how Dusty was when he had Dustin versus how Dusty was when he had me. With that said, the first time we really got the first true real bonding experience in my entire life with Dustin was when he came up and we had our 6-man with our tag match for that with the Shield at Battleground. And then moving forward after that, winning the tag titles and the run we had as Gold Dust and Cody Rhodes prior to the Stardust Gold Dust stuff. So I think watching him is incredibly motivating. The thing I'm most proud of about Dustin, and this is documented, so I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, is Dustin is completely clean from, he had his demons and battles with addiction, and he got completely clean and has been completely clean for many years. And I say that with a lot of pride because a lot of guys, especially pro wrestlers, will preach to you about they're either born again or they're clean, but they're not. when you go clean after a battle with addiction, that means it's cold turkey. There's nothing. There's no alcohol. There's no vices of that nature. And he's one of the few I've seen that really fully commits to his sobriety, and he fills it in. He fills it in with training and with wrestling. He will not go out on a live event for a 5-minute match, no matter what they tell him to do. He's got to get a sweat. He's got to get moving. He's got to feel the people. He's a very special performer for sure. And I'm thankful I got the chance to know him via that tag team run, because people assume, oh, you guys are brothers. Barely saw each other until I was about 15 years old. And then to get the chance to work with him was something I never expected and was really happy about.
Yeah, well, he's a great kid. I mean, everybody's aware of the issues. I mean, and they're, God forbid, nobody can point fingers at anybody in our business, period.
Yeah.
But he has, and he's just a great guy, and I see him all the time. And of course, I text him the other day on the anniversary. I talked to your mom on the phone. I text you. I mean, it's just, it's a wonderful opportunity. And I was hoping, and I talked to him about it. I understood it was an opportunity probably for him to coach at NXT. I think that's what he wants to do, but they want him to work full time. Does that sound right?
I believe that's the case.
Especially with the brand split.
Yeah. I know that first thing that I kind of like, first like logical thing I thought of when I walked into the Performance Center to get my dad's stuff out of his office.
Yeah.
Was I thought, who is going to do the interview class? My father called it a communications class.
Yeah.
And who's going to do that? That can, you don't have to fill his shoes, but like that was to me, that was like the coolest thing about the Performance Center. There's so many wonderful things about that facility and all that, but it's not about drills or schedule or dining food out from the fridge or whatever the hell it's about. Like, that was the coolest thing, was that Dusty was teaching the interview class.
Mm-hmm.
So who fills that? And I thought, well, from modern day experience, knowing what perhaps the top brass of WWE wants, Goldust would be a great person to fill that role. But I think it's just a work in progress with finding what he might do there, because Dustin also can still give in the ring. But when I went there, and it makes me concerned that Dream is no longer leading their communications class, because I thought that was a really invaluable experience that kind of first generation of NXT superstars got, and I hope they fill it somewhere with somebody that.
Well, you know how much it meant to Ashley or Charlotte. I mean, she was mesmerized, and he was so supportive. And actually, it took her a while. I mean, but now that she's found herself, man, her self-confidence, and it's like anything else. It just doesn't come overnight. You know what I mean? But now that she's got it, man, and by the way, she loves you, as you know, right? So I guess you guys talked yesterday, right?
She was she told me, she was saying, I have a good time talking with Rick. He was on his bulletin board, and there was only a few people on the bulletin board in his office. The ladies of that bulletin board were his daughters, Brandy, Stephanie McMahon, and Ashley. So it was pretty tall cotton on the bulletin board. So yeah, I'm glad they got to cross paths there too. I think that's cool that got to help teach Charlotte, the family business that goes on.
Yeah, it was great, and she loved him, and it's like she goes. The other day, I'm just driving on the road, right? I get a text. Don't forget to text Michelle. Right, this is Ashley, right? I go, like, what are you talking about? And she goes, I said, Michelle, who? She said, Dusty. I mean, she's so conscientious. I mean, her schedule is ridiculous right now. You realize that?
Oh, yeah.
But to be that conscientious of that moment, when it should be my responsibility to remember, right? So then I call your mom and catch up with her again. But she sounds like she's doing great. I'm not trying to bounce around here, but
Yeah.
it's the family thing was I'm still Conrad had a commitment because he would have been at the funeral too. He was such a huge fan of your dad. And the thing that's funny is I had made a deal with Michelle for Dusty to come to Conrad's house. And and they would give where Conrad he brings people over here, and he brings about 10 of his friends in, and they tell stories and eat steaks and have a good time. And they also have a beverage. And I think Michelle agreed to me just to pacify me. But at that time, your dad wasn't drinking or anything, which I didn't know.
No, yeah.
It had been a year since he'd had a career. I mean, to me, that'd be rough for me. Every time I come here,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning.
Check liver lights on.
I could always get him to, when I come over when we were both living in Orlando the last few years, I could always get him. He got this weird where he'd like to drink the full bodied beverage. Like he'd like a original cord. Yeah. In the banquet in the gold can. So I got him, he was easy to break in that regard. My mom's really doing it's amazing. She got a job at a dentist's office, and she's kind of learning to live again a little bit. And the cool thing, I was able to sign the royalties from the aforementioned Dusty Rhodes book all to her. So that Dusty's the gift that keeps on giving, and that's how he was anyway. So I like it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, your mom deserves everything, but she's close to Teal, which has got to be nice. Yeah. The grandchildren. How many Teal?
They're right there.
Teal has two, right?
Yeah, Teal has Merritt there first. Her and Kevin Merritt.
Yep.
And Kellen, and Merritt's name because there's Dusty was a diehard New York Yankees fan.
Oh yeah.
There's Merritt's namesake, and then Kristen has Dylan and Dalton, and then Dustin has Dakota. So she's got a slew of grandkids. Yep. She's really into the grandma thing.
Yeah, Kristen's in Austin, right? Still.
Yeah, Kristen's in Austin.
Yeah.
Up there in the hills, and and then Dustin's Orlando, and Teal's back at kind of where we grew up, essentially in Marietta, and that's where Mom is.
Yeah. Well, that's great, man. Well, life sounds good for you, pal.
It's great. It's great. It really is. Last week was very exciting, getting big news and make that little trip to Hollywood, which was really, it paid off. I'm going out there next week to.
No, that's the guy. That's the guy that you had you wrestled on the show, right?
Slam, right.
Yeah. I want to make sure, because I'm not into that as much. I have to make sure I can identify. Hey, I have one more question for you. I've never asked you. I asked Teddy a couple times, senior. Whatever you guys seemed like the perfect team. What happened with that deal?
With Ted Jr.?
Yeah, do you remember when you and Orton, me and Orton fought all the way down to the ring, and Orton fed me into you guys, and you guys did something to me?
In the cage. We got you in the cage.
Yeah, and beat the crap out. Yeah,
you free.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell? And I was going to Cody. Be careful. They were double suplexing me or some damn thing. At 106 years old, just give it to him. Okay.
I think. So I think what happened. I can't speak for Ted. I can say that they gave us the ball for the legacy.
I know.
And they gave us the ball when we were incredibly young. I was 21, turning 22 when I first teamed up with Teddy. And the next thing you know, we're wrestling, we're competing against Batista and Triple H. And I feel like we did.
And having good matches, too.
Oh.
Having really good matches.
Some of the most informative matches of my career are the handicap style matches we had with Triple H over in the UK, where to be able to to wrestle against, also to be able to wrestle against him and The Undertaker 10 nights in a row when you're 22 years old.
Yeah.
And your mouth is shut and your ears are open. But all the same, I think one of the issues was we probably were not ready for any of that, because when it came kind of like nut cutting time, though, like Shawn Michaels asked, he's like, well, what are you going to do? You know, what's going to lead into that, and what things are you going to be known for in the ring? And up until that point in my career, I'd really just kind of listened. And I remember that was, Shawn told me, one of his big things is that getting over is a full-time job. And it was at that point, right at the end, where we were splitting up, which Arn Anderson was adamantly against splitting us up. He wanted to keep me and Teddy together for another year, another 2 years. And as often I find out with Arn was right. We would have been able to learn and grow together as professional wrestlers, as technicians, because I didn't have a clue. I always tell people I'm not really classically trained. I really learned as we went. I did not have a clue of holds, maneuvers, all this stuff that today, like wrestling is the best of the best. Guys like Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and Cesaro, there's a sporting element to what they do, and I didn't know it at that point early on. So looking back, we probably could have stayed together.
Yeah.
Hey, Cody, I've got a question about last year. You know, you were in a feud with Goldust, Stardust and Goldust, and everybody kind of thought that was heading towards WrestleMania, and then at Fastlane, it was done. Was the plan to end at Fastlane, or did fans just make that up on their own, that it was going to hopefully be a WrestleMania match, or what happened there?
It was never intended to be a WrestleMania match. Fastlane was it. I was in the ladder match in San Jose,
right,
for the Intercontinental Championship. I had been informed as such. No, it was never meant to be beyond Fastlane. You say it was done. The way I look at it, Fastlane was a total dud.
Yeah,
it was a total dud, and people think, oh well, the finish got screwed up. The finish didn't get screwed up. The match just sucked, and it's just one of those nights where I kick myself to this day about it. I wish it had connected further, because on the live event, Dustin and I were having this really fun, and the crowds were really involved with it. Tremendous interaction. It just didn't work at Fastlane. It might have been too soon. Maybe it could have gone to WrestleMania. I don't particularly think so. And the other thing is we involved Dad,
right,
and we involved them in a way that was not believable. When we had involved him prior for Battleground, you could see the love. You could see the family. I always think of Dusty as Anthony Hopkins in Legends of the Fall at that Battleground match.
Yeah.
It was like his last stand, and he was so proud of when he gave the elbow to Dean Ambrose that the people got up. And at that point in the match, I could tell, like, oh wow, we did something here. And then to bring him back for we don't like Dad, or in my case, I don't like Dad, and some of the stuff like you're dead to me and all that. It's one of those things that I felt the viewer knew, and Dusty has been my best friend. He was, like, I am so lucky to have him as a dad. He was my coach, my best friend, my mentor, everything. So it just, I don't know. It didn't click. But it never was meant to be at WrestleMania, I can tell you that.
Well, let me just say this to you in closing. I, as a guy that I've been the Black Scorpion, I've been committed to the mental institution, the Florida State. I mean, there's nothing.
Buried in the desert.
I've been buried in the desert. There isn't too much that I haven't done, but I want to tell you something. It takes an incredible amount of talent to do the gimmick that you were doing and that Dustin does. I mean, one of my favorite things years ago was when Dustin had the Tourette gimmick. I mean, it was, but I mean, you jumped right into that gimmick. Maybe you weren't happy with it, but you pulled it off. And I mean, you did. And it was, if you're looking at it in terms of, boy, this guy's got a lot of talent. Do you like it for him personally? Did I like it for you personally? No. But you pulled it off, and it was entertaining. And and you could see by the fact that you were on TV every week, the people enjoyed it and the company enjoyed it. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't think many people know this. The goal of Stardust was, you said it, like that is Dustin's character. Goldust is Dustin's character. So to be like a light version of him was probably a career nightmare and dream, and just terrible idea, perhaps. But the idea was, when we got it, okay, it doesn't have to be androgynous. It doesn't have to be Goldust. You can be a supervillain. And okay, I'll be like Jim Carrey and the Riddler, and I'll find myself a superhero. And then I, had the match with Stephen Amell, who's on TV as a DC, and he's the damn Green Arrow as an actual superhero. So I was like, this is perfect. And then there was supposed to be another match, and we had practices scheduled, and we were going to be at Hell in the Cell. And that match was supposed to be the end of Stardust. It was supposed to be, if Stardust loses to the Green Arrow, he'll return as Cody Rhodes. And when that didn't happen, that was one of the first kind of kicking the balls for me, because you said something to me on a bus, and I don't know if you remember it, but you mentioned that I'm not going to say it because you said it to me, but basically information said that I'd outgrown the character.
I told you you have? Yeah, you have.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll take credit for saying that.
And I thought, well, there's kind of no end in sight, and I don't want a fan, if somebody says, oh, that's Cody Rhodes, and they say, who? Because they know me as Stardust, it would just break my heart. So it was, part of my decision to peace out there at the end. But I do appreciate Conrad, especially. I every time I was in it, I wanted to give it 200%, because when you're in it and you're out there, no matter if you love it or hate it, talking about the Black Scorpion and all that, there's still people they paid time to deliver.
One of the things I just realized as you were talking about that is the Stardust gimmick. Is that kind of like your version of the polka dots? Because your dad got that over when nobody thought, it had any business getting over. And then you got this Stardust thing over, which really, I mean, golly, you exceeded all expectations with that. It was a lot better than it had any business being. And a lot of that was because of you. Yeah.
I think somebody said, hey, good job on dancing through your polka dots to me on social media today. And I thought that's a cool thing to say. It was definitely, Finley brought it up to me a couple times. It was definitely a chance to be something other than just a clean cut, arrogant legacy, or even like a clean cut white meat babyface. It was definitely a chance to be something different. And I was really looking forward. Well, shit, I'm still looking forward to it, because I'm wrestling Kurt Angle on the 27th. I'm wrestling Zack Sabre Jr. at Evolve in my first match back. The thing I was looking forward to feeling now that I've taken it off, the layers and the depth that it added to me. I learned a lot from the first year of Stardust, a lot. And I always like Fit telling me that.
This just gave me an idea. Give me 90 days, kid. Give me 90 days.
Stargate 2016.
Yeah, wait. Give me 90 days, man. We'll get someone to book it in Spartanburg. Okay?
Oh, it's got to be in Flair country. Ooh.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We're at this point in time, I'm inclined to ask anybody what isn't Flair country. If they woo at the ESPYs next Wednesday, I will actually get up and give my whole dialogue about keeping the alligators down.
Are you at the ESPYs?
Yeah, I'm walking the red carpet with Ashley.
Well, wonderful.
Yeah.
Are you going to be in LA next week? Because I'm in LA all next week. We need to hang out.
Well, good for you. I'm coming in Tuesday night. Let's do it. God,
all right.
You're gonna have to break down though and have some premium beer.
You're the only one.
Or a glass of wine for sure.
I remember Tyler Breeze on the bus when you kept handing me Coors Light, and I came back and he goes, "You don't even drink Coors Light." I said, "With Ric Flair, I do." So.
Well, listen, riding over there, it's not exactly like it's. Everybody thinks, oh, it's all the glitz and glamour. Those 5-hour bus rides, man, you got to have a beverage. I used to ride with Hunter and Sean, and they'd watch 48. I would go to the back of the bus and start raising hell with John Cena. That's when John was allowed to go out, right? And Sean would say to me, "You ever going to grow up?" I said, "Not as long as I'm in this business."
No.
Well, let me tell you, by the end of the week, I had Sean drinking. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The Hardy Boys carried him to his room one night.
Hey, speaking of Hardy Boys,
You know, it's something when the Hardy Boys carry you.
Yeah,
You're like, wow.
Cody, I got to ask, it's what everybody's talking about. Did you see the Broken Matt, Brother Nero final deletion?
Yes.
Well, what's your takeaway? Rick saw it this morning, and I'd like to hear your thoughts.
So when I left, Matt Hardy was actually one of the first people who reached out to me. And that was really cool because we didn't really particularly click when I was doing Dash and Cody Rhodes and Matt, his last few months with WWE. And I thought that was really cool. And looking at that, I'm like a old school type, I guess, just because of what I grew up on. It seems to have been incredibly effective, whether you love it or hate it, because everyone's talking about it.
Right.
We're talking about it now. So I anytime we're talking about Stardust, Brother Nero is a good example. Anytime you actually take a shot at being something other than you are, it sometimes is a miss, sometimes is a hit. I think right now they've got a hit because everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, I told Conrad, so watch, they'll be back on Raw in 2 weeks.
Well, that's how it works. The next thing you know, the buzz picks back up, and then
Exactly.
here you are.
Exactly.
Well, the buzz is all over you, man. Tell everybody listening how they can keep up with all things Cody Rhodes.
The great thing is every match we're having, if it's on the list, if it's not on the list, they're all going on to that at Cody Rhodes Twitter, which is really my only form of social media, but nothing, I'm remiss about nothing on that Twitter. If there's a match and it's coming to your town, you'll see it there. The first weekend with Evolve, that's actually the night my 9 days non-compete is up, was Zack Sabre Jr. The next night with Chris Hero, and then the following weekend is the weekend with the Miracle Mike Bennett, and of course the American Hero Kurt Angle for Northeast Wrestling. So they're just the rollout, and the matches we haven't announced are just as exciting as the matches we have announced. And not to mention, I can't say anything too deep, but coming to the CW as part of the Arrow universe in season 5, I think wrestling fans, if they're not familiar with Arrow and the Berlanti universe that is the DC superhero shows, they're going to be really impressed and really enjoy what they're allowing you to do.
Well, that's great. Well, listen, you give my best to Mike. He's a hell of a guy, and I'm sure he'll take good care of you and Kurt. I'm sure it'll be sold out, and I'll be talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to entertain the world today, along with Conrad and myself. We had a ball.
Thank you so much.
The legend Conrad. Thank you, guys.
Listen, you don't realize that his place in Alabama is referred to as the
Conradison. Let's just stick with that.
It's the Conradison, but to a lot of people around this part of the country,
There we go.
it's the Mustang Ranch of the Southeast.
Wow.
I do realize that because you told me on the pod. Conrad, sing your praises. These things are your praises, man.
I know.
You guys are good.
I appreciate it very much. Thanks for joining the show, man. We really appreciate you taking the time. This is, probably the hottest free agent in all of wrestling that we had on the show. We can't thank you enough.
And my best to Brandy and your mom and the whole family, buddy, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
As your dad would say, don't be afraid to live the legend, man.
Living on the edge of a lightning bolt.
That's it, buddy. Love you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Love you too.
All right, Rick. So that is the conclusion of our Cody Rhodes interview. The original plan, of course, was not to have a part 1 and 2, but once we got going, man, I feel like we covered a lot of cool stuff with Cody.
Yeah, he's awesome, and we didn't realize when we taped just how long it would go and how entertaining it was. And he's actually not only being a phenomenal talent, he is a very, very intellectual young man. And he never stopped talking. It was very interesting. I don't think anybody could ever play this thing dragged. It was really good, and happy for him, happy for his future, happy for his family.
And we're happy to go ahead and have Cody Rhodes. Follow him on Twitter at Cody Rhodes. He's got lots of awesome matches coming up you don't want to miss, including Kurt Angle. It's going to be hard to beat. It's August 27th. Check it out. And now,
I may have to attend that.
I mean, why not? What a hell of a card.
Cody, as much as we respect you, good luck.
And that's why I always recommend that you start your day with AG1. I recently started taking Athletic Greens. Well, because my wife made me. Guys, this is a real story. My wife Megan's been using Athletic Greens long before they were a sponsor here on the show because she cared about better gut health. She wanted more energy. She wanted to optimize her immune system. She hated taking pills or vitamins. She wanted a supplement that would actually taste great. And that's why she's doing one delicious scoop of AG1 every day, every morning. That's all it takes. One scoop and a cup of water, and you're good to go. You'll be absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. It's going to help you start your day right. It's going to help you take care of your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, your focus, your aging, all the things. And this is a real deal, guys. Don't take mine and Rick's word for it. Athletic Greens has more than 7,000 five-star reviews. And with AG1, you're really investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. It's cheaper than what you've been spending on coffee in the morning, I'm sure. And it's lifestyle friendly, whether you're eating keto or paleo or vegan or dairy-free or gluten-free. It's got less than 1 gram of sugar. It's got no GMOs. It's got no nasty chemicals, no artificial anything, and it still tastes good. It's going to support mental clarity and alertness, better sleep quality and recovery. And right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Seriously, it's just one scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Flair. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Flair to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Got a handful of questions here, and then we'll wrap this one up, Rick. This is a fun one. I know you're going to love this.
The biggest news is that Cody Rhodes left AEW. So did his wife, Brandy. And the rumor is Cody's going to be heading back to WWE. Nate, you and I speculated about this weeks ago, and now it has come to pass.
Yes. I'm sure they'll welcome him with open arms.
I think so too. What are the pros and cons for Cody? Because my gut tells me it's a good move for him.
Oh, I absolutely. There's no way it couldn't be a good move for him.
Well, why do you think that?
Because he made himself on his own. Then he went to work with AEW, made himself even bigger. And why not bring back Cody Rhodes, son of Dusty Rhodes? Huge.
Why do you think Cody left? It's maybe unfair to read his mind, but was it creative? Was it money? You hear rumors that him and the other founders drifted apart. What's your best guess?
I don't have a guess. I just wish him the best of luck and to always hold his head high and remember who he was.
I don't know why I'm saying this. It strikes me as something Dusty might have done.
No, I just think that, when he left, I'm not sure if you call it good or bad terms. I guess he left. There were some issues over of course, the trademark issues and stuff like that, which there always will be. But he left. They went out and made it on his own, and then he and Tony hooked up. And I don't know. I can't, without giving you false information. I don't know why he left. I swear I could find out, but I heard back from him. We text each other, and I just said, be who you are. Don't take any shit from anybody. That's what I told him.
Well, one point you bring up that's very prescient, Nate, is he did make himself. He left WWE after what I'm sure he would think would be a disappointing run, the Stardust character at the end, stuff like that. He did that indie show, which was the birth of AEW. Without Cody Rhodes, there is no AEW.
Yep.
Before that, he had a good run in Ring of Honor, where he elevated his name and that company. So clearly, He is as self-made as any wrestler I can think of in the last how many decades?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And still just a young man.
Yeah, for sure. And again, there is no AEW without Cody. And Tony Khan has acknowledged that. And I don't think the split was
Tony acknowledged that?
yeah. In so many words. I don't think the split was amicable, but I don't think it was, I don't think it's a blood feud either.
I have no idea.
Now, well, Cody's
I'd love to speculate, but I don't even want to go there.
now when Cody goes back to WWE, will his past as a character like Stardust hurt him? Will it haunt him? Or will he just be Cody Rhodes, who we saw in AEW?
Cody Rhodes.
How big will he be right away? How big will they use him?
I think Biggie.
Because there's a myth that Vince buries guys he brings in from competing companies, but there's not much evidence of that, is there? I mean, he did it with you. Ironically, one example I can think of is Dusty.
You know why he did it with me?
Go ahead.
I never buried him.
Oh, that's a good point.
Look how they carried Eric out. Look what they did with the NWO.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And I was going to bring up Dusty because he didn't do right by Dusty, really. He put him in the polka dots and had Sapphire with him, but Dusty kind of buried him, didn't he? Back when?
Well, I didn't bury him, but the two things I never did is Harley Race used to go out because Harley Race was tough enough to do this. Those plastic champions, those guys that call themselves the world champion, they're just plastic. I am the world champion. Of course, he was talking to Hulk, right? And then Dusty would go out and say something that alluded to New York. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Yeah. And it was always that at the end of the day, you know what he was saying. And Dusty was such a fabulous talker that he could put it together, and it was smooth, but you know what he was saying. I never did that. I never said a word. I refused to. Bischoff wanted me to crack on Vince on WWE. I said, absolutely will never do that. Ring of Honor. Stand on bullshit with them. They wanted me to get in the goddamn ring and say that they were just big and could compete with the WWE. I said, I absolutely do not do that. And I walked out the door. I don't care what story you hear from anybody. That's what happened. That was unconditional. I will never crack on the WWE. Do I have issues with people that work there? Yes. But the WWE pulled me from my head being shamed beyond belief for who I was supposed to be in the business. Head shaved my son's head. Oh my God. Had to get us both, right? He thought it was the greatest thing in the world because he was 12 years old. But what a way to be left. And that's how they left me. That's history. And that's bullshit.
Do you think Vince will have enough faith in Cody to make him one of their major champions before too long? Is that in his cards?
I don't know.
Do you think he's good enough to merit that?
Yes.
See, I think that if he would bring him in, and like I said, first and foremost, if he believes in Cody's quality, which I can't believe he wouldn't do. But I think if you put one of the big belts on Cody, the Universal or the WWE title, I think people in AEW that you might want to get down the road are going to look at that and say, okay, we'd get treated the right way up there. I think that would be not only properly recognizing Cody's talent, but would be good to sow some seeds moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if they'll give him a major belt or not. He certainly has the talent to pull it off. But I also think that I do like the idea of him having to, and I'm sure he'll agree with me. There's a lot of people up there to impress before you start thinking about being a world champion.
Oh, no, I'm not saying overnight, Nate, but I'm saying, down the road, because he is only, like we said, 36.
Oh, no, I'm down the road, I definitely feel, but I'd be surprised if it was right away.
Do you think he'll be on WrestleMania?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think he'll make an appearance.
Here's what I could see. I could see him doing a run-in or something like that at WrestleMania, and then debuting proper on Raw the next night.
That's a possibility.
That seems that would be a good way to do it. Now,
To start into a to cause somebody to win or lose, then get into a feud with them, right?
right. Now, Nate,
Is it going to be a babyface or a heel?
I would rather ask you that question. What do you think?
He's got to be a babyface.
I think you're right. I think given where he's coming from and what he did when he was there prior, I think it would be better as a babyface, especially initially.
Yeah, especially with the last name Rhodes. Can always turn around later, but he's such a talented kid and can do everything the babyfaces, need to do, drop kick and all that, all the, the shine, everything that they all do so well at that level. So I think I'd make him a babyface.
Did you ever drop kick? Ever try it?
Yeah, but I had to run 5 feet to do it. Only once.
Who'd you drop kick? Do you remember?
Ole Anderson off the apron.
I bet he was thrilled.
Yeah, wish I'd hit him with a cement block.
The idea of being a heel with that much heat makes me think you need life insurance. Go to GoliathLife.com right now. Get a quick quote from 20 different carriers. Think about how much time that's going to save you. It's going to make it easy. You pick your terms, you pick your payment, you pick your price. And life insurance is not about you. It's about your family and providing peace of mind for you. Because what's going to happen to them without your income? You don't want to think about that. You want to know everything's taken care of thanks to GoliathLife.com. Here's another one here.
Now, there's a report that Cody Rhodes has signed a contract with WWE, which I think was inevitable. How would you debut him? Should he show up at WrestleMania or would you wait?
I'd have him show up at WrestleMania.
What would you have him do? Just show up or get involved or?
I'd try to think out loud for Vince McMahon is impossible, but Cody's a really good talker. And I'd have him go out there, just say what he thinks from the heart. And he'd be very well received.
Oh, no question.
His dad and his now, the fact that he's really, pulled his dad legacy, made the full circle back with WWE and, his dad being such a big star so many years. I think he walked out the door in Texas where his dad's from Austin and, just as, dressed up, which he's into the clothes, which I like. I'm a big fan of that. Just stands there and said, I had to learn we did something really, I'd make him the hottest goddamn heel in the country.
You bring him in as a heel?
Yes.
Now,
yep. Actually, what I would do, I would listen to what the crowd said when he walked out of me. That would be my opinion. I would say, Vince, I would say, walk out there, let her breathe for a minute and say what you think. That'll never be the case, but that's what I would let the crowd tell you what they think.
Well, I have no idea if Cody should be...
Which is the way the business should be. I mean, to me, listen to the crowd. I used to tell guys all the time, I cannot tell you what I'm going to do out there until I hear the crowd. What do I want to start? I'll tell you when I get in the ring. I've had that argument 100 times. Let me hear what the crowd's doing. Then I'll tell you what we're going to do.
Well, I don't know if Cody should be babyface or heel. I kind of like the way you would approach it, but I think he's got to be pushed big because A, he's great, and B, a lot of people in AEW are going to be watching. And if Cody, gets pushed and if he gets treated good, people who might want to come from AEW to WWE might take that into consideration.
Oh, I'm very confident the fact he's going to be pushed real hard, and I don't see that even being an issue. But once again, I think the determining factor of what they want to do with him would be to walk out in a state where his dad was born and raised, 60 miles from where, 80 miles from where, Dusty was, lived. And I would just let the crowd tell me what's going on.
I've always wondered what the most value is when a wrestling promotion gets a new guy. Is it surprise value, which gets people talking, or do you build anticipation, which should make more people watch?
If they know he's coming, I would, first of all, Cody doesn't need vignettes, you know what I mean?
Right. They know who he is.
They know who he is. And, but I have to think, in my mind, I don't think Cody left in a bad way. So it wasn't like he was getting beat by everybody before he left. Or if he was, I don't remember. And I watch all the time. So I think he just decided he wanted to try something else. And he was successful at it. And, Vince rewards success. He never said anything bad about the WWE. I don't remember that I know. They may have had some trademark argument issues, but that's life. You know what I mean? But I think Cody will perform at a high level. He's young. He looks great. And I just think, once again, I would let the crowd dictate what he's going to be and how he's going to do it. Because this is a kid that's got a whole new roster of people to wrestle.
Yeah, I think it's going to be terrific. And Nate, what about that neck tattoo he has? I think you should have got a neck tattoo back in the day.
Maybe I will tomorrow.
I think it'd be awesome.
What does it say?
Maybe Tom Brady, number 12.
TB12.
TB12. Although, like we've always said, Nate, you don't put a bumper sticker on a Bentley.
Wow, I know.
Now, how long are Brock and Roman going to go? What should they do? They don't usually work short matches per se, but I think they can go long if it's requested of them.
They both can. They're both in excellent condition.
Well, what would you do, though? How would you book it?
Well, like I said last week, I'd make sure they have at least 30 minutes.
I think they could do a real good 30-minute match. I think there would be a lot of, bells and whistles. I think Heyman gets involved. I think stuff like that, the Usos, but I think 30 minutes sounds about right.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, I just think both main events should have at least 30 minutes. 30 minutes of wrestling, not included, we talked about this last week, not including the injuries.
My God, I'd give Ronda and Charlotte 45.
Yeah, why not?
I think it'd be great. Nate, what's the preparation process like for a big match, like a main event at WrestleMania or when you wrestled Starrcade? Who has input? How much is laid out? How much is even rehearsed?
Oh gosh, they're going to be they go in probably on they go in right after Raw, and they probably are there. I would say 5 days of preparation.
And how much is rehearsed in the ring?
A lot, but it's not so much the match is. But I mean, everything's rehearsed, but it's one of those things that has to be flawless, and that is from the camera work to the announce table and the performers. I mean, it's the biggest deal. And to me, I enjoy it more than I do. I love the Super Bowl. I know it's great, but because I'm a wrestler, I love WrestleMania. It's huge.
But by the time we asked for these questions, I don't think it had actually happened yet. So Conrad from Huntsville wants to know, what'd you think of Cody wrestling with a torn pec? It caused a little bit of a debate online, but I thought it was an incredible performance that people will be talking about for a long, long time.
Absolutely. And he made he made Seth Rollins last night more than Seth ever has since he's been in the company. So it didn't hurt Seth at all to lose, knowing that they were going to do this Monday night. They had to have a plan. I just hope that with that pec surgery, he could be out 3-4 months with that. So I'm assuming he's going to have surgery, right?
Yeah, as I hear, I think he's going to have surgery on Thursday.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to text him. I was watching last night. I'm thinking, man, it was a lot. I think it was great of Seth to put him over like he did the 2 times, but knowing what they did last night, I mean, Seth's fresh, he's got a great, he put a lot of heat on himself last night. The most I've ever seen him put on himself. and all because of Cody.
Were you surprised that, there's been a trilogy of matches now? Uh, Cody beat Seth at WrestleMania. He beat him at WrestleMania Backlash.
Mhm.
Now he beat him at the main event of Hell in a Cell, in the Hell in a Cell with essentially one arm. I think conventional wrestling booking, wink, wink, would say,
Well, let me tell you, but let me just throw something back at you right away. I'm sorry to answer a question earlier. Cody Rhodes could have wrestled back in the 70s and 80s too.
for
Without
sure.
it. Absolutely.
Well, that's what I wanted to get to. Like, I think conventional old school thinking would be if you got a guy who's going to have to leave for surgery, he doesn't win. Now, clearly, Seth, quote unquote, got his heat back on Monday with a phenomenal angle. I thought that was well done.
But
But
more
man,
than he's ever had.
what a statement that the company made by having Cody pick up the win, even though he's injured. And I freestyled in my podcast with Tony Schiavone. I wonder how much of that is because WWE certainly is positioning Cody to be a top guy and they want him to be a top guy. But I think a lot of folks are probably taking a wait and see approach. Like, well, we'll wait and see what WWE really does with Cody. We got our answer when he beat Seth Rollins with one arm, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean, they got to make Cody's going to be a champion sooner or later.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm sure that they'll figure out a way to get that championship off of where Roman has both of them, get one of them off him. So I think the company functions better with two champions anyway.
If you were playing Booker, I think a lot of people assumed, well, Cody's probably going to win the Money in the Bank and then he'll have an opportunity to win the belt that way. Of course, now it feels like, well, he's definitely out because he's having surgery on Thursday. So since he's going to miss that opportunity, and I don't think he'd be back in time for SummerSlam,
No.
do people naturally start looking to the Royal Rumble? Do you think if you were booking it, you would have Cody win the Rumble?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If that's the time frame. Those things are very delicate. That tissue in there takes a long time to heal, and you can't rush it. You know what I mean? You've got to actually follow the doctor's orders. I'm sure he's had it done in Birmingham, and those guys know what they're doing. Anybody was associated with Dr. Andrews will, but you've just got to really, I know guys that have gone down there and stayed in Birmingham for a period of time. Hunter, especially when he tore his quads, and that, just because you need the best of care. It's not like you just go to the gym and start doing thigh extensions or bench presses or something like that. Again, you need to be really micromanaged to heal from injuries like that.
I think a lot of people have drawn a lot of parallels between Hunter and Cody, and clearly we saw the pedigree in the match. And then, of course, I think a lot of people remember what Triple H looked like when he tore his pec over in Saudi Arabia. But the parallel of getting hurt during the summer, as you just said, once upon a time, Triple H tore his quad, makes the big return in time to win the Royal Rumble, and then comes back and wins the world title at WrestleMania. That's the way you would book Cody again. Let's just do it again. Cody comes back at Royal Rumble, wins it at WrestleMania.
Yeah, unless somebody comes along that's so miraculously, first of all, it's hard to determine what they're going to do because there's so many with both companies right now, moving parts. But if looking at it from today, not knowing any more than I do as of this moment, that's what I would do with Cody. Yes.